Hello and welcome to the Listening Post's unboxing channel on YouTube. Today I'm unboxing the brand new active streaming bookshelf speaker from PSB, the PSB IQ. This is a stunning speaker. It comes with the heritage of PSB and their Alpha series, which has been tried and true. It's well loved, it's well reviewed, it sounds brilliant. It incorporates the amplification to drive each of the tweeter and woofer independently. But most importantly, it's a very clear step to acknowledge the heritage and collaboration between NAD, BlueSound and PSB. These active speakers, like no other, are incorporated as part of the BlueSound ecosystem with a BluOS streamer built in. That alone is an expensive and world-class streamer, yet it's incorporated in such a wonderful value set of bookshelf speakers. So, let's have a look. Firstly, PSB, Canadian brand, excellent to see. Look, chances are these are made in designed and engineered in Canada and made in China. You can make good stuff in China, you can make not so good stuff in China. These are a clear example of how good manufacturing can be. Nevertheless, the packaging is relatively muted. You can see model and serial number information all scannable on one side, along with basic information associated with BluOS, MQA, all of those types of things, and the fact that it's AirPlay 2 and you name it, all of the modern streaming formats are covered off with, of course, the BluOS streaming app. The packaging is very muted on all the other sides, other than just a little bit of a delineation, a bit of artwork on the bottom. Opening these is really straightforward. A simple slice and a nick or two gets you in. Like anything, I always recommend that you sort of don't drag a knife across the top of a box. You never know what's underneath. And in this instance, as we fold it open, we've got some of the warranty and manual information in the plastic bag. So, looking at that. Firstly, again, we'll see a couple of things. First, we've got some rubber bump-ons that go underneath the speaker, stick on, and ensure that it doesn't rattle or vibrate the surface. These are small ones designed not to sort of lift the speaker up too much, along with user information and warranty information associated with the speakers themselves. There's a piece of cardboard. And underneath the cardboard, it's interesting that the New Zealand distributors, of course, have opened this and have added two traditional figure 8 power cords to power the units up. It means, of course, they're not tossing away all of the unnecessary overseas power cords. We also see a couple of freebies, including a good quality network cable and a 3.5mm stereo cable for those that are going to utilise this plugged into a computer or a cell phone or something like that. They're in 2 round scallops, and with anything that's kind of packaged really well and perhaps a little bit heavier than most, I would always recommend that you spend a little bit of time and pull the box off the speaker. Don't try and lift the speaker out of the box. It reveals elaborate packaging. We've got some closed cell foam to protect one end and a piece of cardboard to protect the other. Again, attention to detail as far as ensuring the product arrives to you in perfect condition. We also see another piece of closed cell foam and eventually the polystyrene itself, which is an emulation of the size and shape that we saw in the other one. Okay. Now, between the two speakers we see an additional piece of closed cell foam to ensure that, worst case scenario, these are bumped in transit, they're not going to knock up against each other. Again, compliments for the attention to detail for the packaging. Each speaker is essentially identical, but, and please, as always, hang around for the photographs. We'll see these sort of unboxed and, you know what I mean, close-ups and all of those things, seeing all the key features. There's the bottom. Taking one and putting it off to one side for a moment, we'll concentrate on just opening one for now. Now, firstly, there's a couple of pieces of sellotape holding the plastic bag closed, and a little bit of that sort of poly paper to protect the surface of the speaker. Getting this type of stuff off is really straightforward. The process of just sort of rolling the speaker around. The bag itself is sealed at the back with one of those sort of sticky dots, synonymous with many of the Bluesound and PSB speakers by now. Just sort of tear that off and access the bag. Now the first thing that you need to kind of understand is that the speakers, although they share a very similar footprint, size and shape to the P3s, these are quite a departure in design and quality. Firstly, they're utilising sandwiches of aluminium and MDF. So the main carcass is made of MDF with an aluminium plate at the front and an aluminium plate at the back to give it real structural integrity and allow the product to add heat sinks and other things associated with the amplification on board. So at a glance we see the front of this speaker, which is in the matte white finish. They're also available in matte black. Like the P3, the passive 3, the tweeter is down below the main mid-bass woofer. Now the tweeters are 3/4 of an inch, the mid-bass is about 4 inch, and please don't let the relatively small size imply the performance of the speaker. PSB and Bluesound of course have worked together to ensure that the DSP or digital sound processing on board is second to none. It will actually do a really good job of producing bass despite the very small drive units. Nevertheless, the tweeter is down at the bottom of the speaker, and that's because what PSB have done with their R&D is worked out that having the tweeter at the low point actually helps to ensure that the frequency response is relatively similar to whether or not you're sitting or standing. So they've kept with that design in their active speakers. Leaning it forward, you see a little bit of that design and manufacturing. So there's a lovely little strip of shiny sort of steel, which is alluding to the aluminium plating at the front of the speaker, along with a touch sensitive display at the top. Spinning it round, we see a beautiful matte finish, and we see again that it's not very deep. They are targeting this product certainly after the relatively compact sort of environments where size is important, and perhaps it's either side of a television or something along those lines. You really don't want some big bulky speaker. Spinning it around, I guess we start to see the benefits of all of the inputs and outputs that PSB have added with a product of this nature. Firstly, and I guess what we've grown used to seeing in a BluOS product, is both a USB input and a wired network connection. It has wireless on board, but please, like anything that you are going to stream, any reasonable content, I mean, this will run MQA, for example. Anything like that, you should at least attempt to run a network cable to it. It has an eARC HDMI audio return, a 3.5mm auxiliary, obviously for the 3.5mm cable they've given you, and an optical cable is a wonderful default to solve many of the problems associated with connecting to modern televisions. There's a figure 8, and it's worth noting this will run in anything from 100 to 240 volts. Above that power outlet we've got a subwoofer output, enabling the product to run a cable to an active subwoofer. Noting that as part of the BluOS ecosystem, you can introduce one of the Bluesound wireless subwoofers if you wish, and that excellent little sub, which again you would have seen on our unboxing videos, is well worth an investment if you're wanting to add a little bit of fat and body to the bass with the sound system, and perhaps put it in a bigger space too. We see a traditional phono input. Now this is exactly that, a phono input for a turntable, and above it a ground to ensure that you get that earth hum isolation associated with a turntable. The product itself is powered actually by 2 separate amplifiers, a total of 180 watts, which is quite unheard of with a speaker of this size. We see approximately 30 watts driving the tweeter and approximately 60 watts driving the mid-bass driver. The end result is the ability to control and couple so perfectly to the demands of the woofer itself. The products are designed and built to standard second to none, and probably we're going to pause and have a look at the second one, because let's be honest, I'm pretty proud of this product, and we're going to have a look and see them as a pair. Again, removing the box, bag, again the sticky label. Now it's worth noting, I didn't point it out in the first one, but there's a desiccant bag to ensure that it's kept obviously dry in transit. And we see the second one with an ever so subtly different input and output. In the setup associated with the BluOS, it doesn't really matter whether or not this is a left or right speaker. You can place it wherever you might be, and part of the setup tell the active, or one with all the inputs, so to speak, or the, whether or not it's a left or right, and the BluOS app will work out the rest. The second one shares exactly the same cosmetics at the front, the side, but it's at the back that you suddenly realise how different the second one is. Again, the aluminium back panel to ensure that the product is brilliant from a structural perspective. It has a single USB. Now this is designed for service and software, but it can be utilised to power and charge something like a phone. It doesn't have the current output for a big iPad or something along those lines, but it's quite useful should you want to be using your phone for a prolonged period of time for Bluetooth or other streaming. It has a traditional figure 8 input, and that's why it's looking kind of boring at the back, because this is all that it needs to be. Again, complemented with the same amplification, 30 watts for the tweeter, 60 watts for the amplifier. It pairs up brilliantly with the unit designed to handle the inputs and outputs. So, there we have it. PSB's brand new IQ bookshelf speaker. Stunning design, stunning build quality, stunning sound. And it's why I'm so proud to have shared our unboxing video with you today from the Listening Post in Christchurch, New Zealand. Thanks for watching. If you want to see more, subscribe to our channel.